Okay, so now, moving away from the traditional, what do you do when you like football and you like maths? Jess is going to explain.
Alrighty, hi everyone. Like previously said, what do you do when you like football and you like maths? I'll start off by giving you a little bit of a background, I guess, where I've come from. I think it might resonate with quite a few of you. So when I was younger, I went to a state school just in Melbourne, and it was a school that didn't particularly focus on maths and science. So we did a lot of English, we did a lot of story writing, and to be honest, it's not something that I was particularly good at, which made it difficult because I wasn't good at maths either. But I would always run around outside and run away from the teachers and just go and play extra PE for a little while. Until it got to about grade 3 or 4, and Mum realised I didn't know my 3 times tables. I'd somehow managed to skip through that many maths classes that I skipped my times tables. It was at that point that I went to Kumon. There may be a few groans in the room. Yes, Kumon. But it was amazing. So I went there for about a year and I improved to the point where I didn't know my 2s and 3s, and all of a sudden I'm doing sort of high school level algebra. And I guess the key point of Kumon was that you practiced, and you had to practice. You had to practice every day, you had to practice multiple times a day, and you had to keep practicing until you were good enough to move on to the next level, which is what inspired me to keep going with maths in high school. So I was impartial to maths at this stage. I didn't enjoy English. I found it terrifying to write a story about anything. And I was impartial to maths, and I still loved sport. And it wasn't until about year 9, year 10, where maths became optional, that I discovered, hey, I actually really enjoy this. This is easy because there's a right and a wrong answer. I like being able to finish my homework, check it off, and give myself a few big red ticks. And it's something I couldn't do in other subjects. And it was just that sense of satisfaction of going, yep, I've got it. So it got to VCE. And across the span of 2 years, I did all 3 levels of maths. It wasn't because I was particularly interested in it. It was because it was there, it was a sense of satisfaction, and I still didn't know what I wanted to be after high school. I didn't know what I wanted to do at uni. I didn't know if I wanted to go to uni at this stage. So I kept all 3 levels, just in case. And then it got to putting in preferences for uni allocations. I had everything from medicine to engineering to PE teacher. I'm pretty sure at one stage I applied for dentistry as well. But the thing is, everything I applied for needed some level of maths. So I kept everything. Got to uni, and there was this amazing engineering course that had just come out a couple of years prior, and it was product design engineering. I thought, awesome. This is art and maths combined. I get to design products and actually know how to make them. So I went and I did that. But throughout the course, the only thing I could think of making every semester was a sports product. And it got to about 4.5 years in when my professor said to me, would you be happy working in a white goods store? Would you be happy designing fridges for a living? I said, no. I want sports. And by this stage, so I'm now 5 years out of high school, there's a brand new course come along called sports engineering. So sports engineering combined my engineering knowledge as well as putting it into a sports sense. So every single project we did related to sports. So I went and I did that. Now, this is where it gets difficult. I went out into the workforce. I worked full-time for the very first time in engineering. And I thought, I'm in over my head. I just want to design sports products. I need a company that embodies this. So I went to a company and worked as a biomechanical engineer, where we designed sensor systems to quantify movement. To put this simply, I put little stickers on your body and I could tell you how far you're bending over. After a couple of years in engineering, I thought, you know what, this still isn't sporty enough. I'm getting glimpses of sport teams and athletes wearing this product, and I miss sport. So by this stage, there was a brand new uni course come out again, and it was a Masters of Football Performance. And this took everything I had learnt from the previous 6 to 7 years at uni, and it allowed me to hone in on my maths skills and just focus on football. I gained a love for rugby very quickly when I was asked to join the Melbourne Rebels. At the Rebels, I would do projects accounting to how far away the receiver should stand from the breakdown in order to accurately get past his opposition. How far away the next teammate should be when a breakdown happens so that we have more likelihood of winning that breakdown. And then AFL came along. There was a job opened up at Carlton, and I've been a big Carlton nuffy since I was about a year old. Unfortunately, when you grow up with a father who loves Carlton, you're doomed to it as well. So a job came up at Carlton and I applied instantly. And they said, what makes you stand out to the other applicants we've received? They all love footy, they've all played footy, they understand footy inside out. I said, they can't. How many other applicants do you know who have done, well, I don't know, 7, 8 years at uni worth of maths? How many of your other applicants can say they have a bit of a background in computer science? How many of your other applicants can say they can solve your problems with angles and equations? And then I got the job at Carlton. This is where sports statistics and analytics is heading. We want people with maths backgrounds. We need people with maths backgrounds. We need to be able to accurately tell the coach that what they're seeing subjectively is backed up by objective data as well. And if it's not, we need to know what the difference is. Where is there a breakdown? So, some things that I might do in my job, say a typical week at work for me, starts with a game and it ends with a game every week. A week is one cycle in a football analyst's world. We will have 23 of these throughout the year, unless you're lucky and make it to finals. But we start with a match. Let's say it's our match from the weekend. We will then spend the next 24 hours analysing that match because we want to know where we went wrong and where we can improve. So we will look at our data, we will look at our shots on goal, and we will say, when you shoot for goal, you're not at the right angles. You might say your knee isn't flexed enough to be able to increase your force production. That's why you didn't make it from the 50-metre mark. We might need to say to the team, the patterns that you ran were wrong. And then we need to show them what patterns they ran majority of the game. We might need to say to the team, hey, you were really good in the air today. You won the contested marking competition. So we will find where we went wrong and we'll find where we did really well and we improve on that. That's our aim for the week. We want to improve every week. So after 24 hours of analysing our game, we then go and train. The coaches will deliver the messages that we have given them to the players. And then the players will go out onto the track and try and fix what they did wrong in the previous game. That's when we're in the office working in the background, analysing our next game. That's the next part of the week. So we need to look at the previous 3 to 4 games of our opposition. And from those 3 to 4 games, we can find their patterns. Our job is all about patterns. So we want to know what type of patterns they use from a kick-in. We want to know, do they go straight down the middle of the field every time? Do they go down the middle of the field only 80% of the time? Is that dependent on where we stand? Is that dependent on the height of our players at the front of the field compared to the back? We need to know these variables because that will help us during the game. Once we know where their flaws are, we design a game plan to try and penetrate those flaws. With that, we go into our second training session. Coaches will give a quick rundown of what our opposition is going to look like on the weekend. We kind of know who we need on field based on this information. So we'll also sit down with the coaches and say, hey, based on this and based on who we think they're going to play, this is who we need in the team this week. It's not always a popularity contest. There's quite a bit of maths behind it. Once the team have trained, it's game day again. We're back to the weekend. What we do on game day is we're the ones sitting in the coaches' box behind the coaches on their laptops, heads down, trying to get away from the camera, and we're pumping out probabilities. We want to know the probability that the opposition team will take a certain shape at centre bounce. We want to know the probability of those 3 particular midfielders being in the next centre bounce. If they're going to be in the next centre bounce, we're going to put our best players on them. If they are a combination of players that aren't so good at centre bounce, we don't need to put our best players in. That might fatigue them. Which brings me to the next point of what happens on game day. We also have to manage the time that players spend on field. If you think about playing a whole football game, you're running almost 15 kilometres in the game. Players end up quite tired at certain points of this, considering that a lot of it is actually sprinting. So we need to be able to manage that and say, okay, we can't use all 15 of their kilometres in the first half. What happens if the other team come back with their strongest players in the second half? So we have to come up with the probability of what the other team is going to do and when, and then we have to manage the loads of our players accordingly. As well as that, what if one of our boys is going for a shot on goal? We need to know exactly what angle he is from the goal and how far out. This will determine the probability of him scoring that shot. If the probability is pretty low, we're going to tell our players to get back and set up for defence. We need that straight away. So, we need that defence because it's a safety net. Maths is definitely been my safety net. I didn't know what I wanted to do at the end of Year 12. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was starting uni for the first time. I'd already picked a course, I still didn't know exactly what I wanted to do from it. And the thing that I have ended up doing, which I definitely foresee myself doing 20 years from now, didn't even exist when I was in high school, let alone when I started uni. I had to wait to study it because the course didn't even exist. So without maths, I wouldn't have been able to get into my first, second, or third degree. And I definitely wouldn't have been able to get to where I am now. That's it.
It's actually quite common for people not to know what they want to do, but one of the things which is an absolute fact is that if you don't know what you want to do, the more maths you keep up, the more options you've got later on, to change your direction, your pathway.